Hello guys, so now I'm gonna teach you about getting input from the user. I'm the user, right? So what I can do is you can give some input in this console and you can take that input and you can do something with that value. So to to get any input from the user, you need to create an object in a class called scanner. So to be fair, when I first learned scanner, I didn't know or like what the hell they are talking about, right? Because first they were talking about variables, and then suddenly they gave like a kind of like a complex statement here, and I didn't know any of the meaning here. And the one how I learned was I just kind of copied it, and then I was like got used to it, and then later on, I kind of got the meaning of it. I kind of understand what do they mean by it. But I will try to explain as much as I can because you kind of need to have some kind of knowledge about classes and objects. But still kind of, I mean, if you are watching my videos from the since the first video, I haven't talked about anything about class and objects. So it's okay. I'll try my best. If you look at it, right? I'm going to this class. Or okay, class is kind of like a file in Java. So here the hello world 3.java, right? So this is one Java file, and you can go here, and this is the package, right? This is the package that we are using. You can go here, and you can actually create multiple Java classes. So one of the class in the JDK is scanner. So what I'm actually doing here is I'm going to the class. Okay, I'm going to the class and then I'm creating an object in that class. Or I'm going to the file and I'm creating an object in that file. So what do I mean by creating an object? So you kind of can take it as it's like you're creating a card, you know. It's like a permission card. If you wanna use any of the code in this class file, right, you need to create an card or a card. So whenever you want to use any of the uh, method, or sorry, yeah, I haven't explained about methods, right? So if you want to use any of the method, code in this file, in this scanner file, you need to create a card first, um, a permission card. Yeah, you need to create a card. Oh yeah, creating an access card, and using that access card, you can use some part of the code every time. So in the scanner file, right? In the scanner file, let's say this is the scanner file class, the proper way to tell, but let's just say it's a scanner file. In that file, there's a lot of codes. There's a lot of codes from here to here, like just too much, It's a lot of codes. But you don't have to use the whole code. You can use some part of the code. Um, you can just access some part of the code and use it. So one of the code written there is called nextInt. This is not the code, by the way. This is not the code. This is kind of like the, let's say, okay, let me draw. Let's say this is the scanner file. Okay, let me make sure that I'm recording actually. Okay, so this is a scanner file, right? So let's say from start to bottom, lot of codes, but I just want to use this part of the code. I just want to use, or maybe I just want to use this part of the code. So in that file, they already divided that codes into smaller parts, and then they will give a label to that code. So let's say this is given the label nextInt. So I haven't talked about nextInt, but let's say there is there's a code here, and that code is given a label nextInt. So if I run nextInt in my program, it will run the code, the whole code here. Or maybe there's another code, next double, and if I run that code, I will, yeah, if I try to run this thing, it will go to the scanner file and it will run the whole code that is given in this label, or in this group it will run the whole code. So if you remember, as you already use system out print, right? So uh, it's this system is actually a file. So in this system file, there's a lot of codes. And one part of it is actually called out. So you kind of like go into the file and asking it to execute this out part only, and to kind of call execute the code, you need to tell the file name. Okay, tell the file name, and then you put a dot, and then you write the label, so out, and then they put another dot, and then they run another code. So which means there's another part which is also called print. So this is kind of like a chain where you first run this code or this code, and then you run this code. So that's kind of like what's happening in this line. So kind of I haven't explained anything about that line because it might be quite confusing the first time you learn it, but maybe it's still confusing, but it's okay. When we got into OOP and classes and objects, it will get a lot more clear. So the same thing happening here, but the purpose of the access card, right? Sometimes you can't just call the name or call a file name and then call the part. You need to create an access card. So here I'm creating an access card which is given SC. So this is how you kind of like creating an access card. So the access card's name, the card's name or the name that you have given is SC. You can type any name here. You can tell X, you can tell Y, or you can tell Josh. It doesn't matter. So like SC is kind of like a convention that programmers use because scanner and the short form is SC. So that's why you use SC. So now when you wanna uh, call a method or call this part of the code, instead of telling scanner dot nextInt, you tell sc dot nextInt. So that's how you kind of like do these things or use this code. So what's the purpose of using this code? Well, the nextInt is a code that will get an input which is an integer from the user, and nextDouble, it will get the input from the user which is a double from the user. So let's go to the NetBean. Okay, so this is how you do it, right? Okay. You create create an access card called SC, and then don't just copy the system in. Don't really worry about that. And then you tell which file you want to create that access card in. So scanner in this case. And if you want to use a file that is not under this, right, it's not under your package, is under the JDK, you need to tell the Java that you're using that. So how to tell is you you need to tell the whole package name. So it's java.util.scanner. What's the error here? Oh, sorry, it must be under this. Okay. So it's kind of like you're telling that I'm gonna use the scanner file from this package that is under JDK, and you need to tell that first before you use that file. So import is kind of like you're telling well, I'm getting this file from the JDK, so I'm importing it, and then I'm creating the access card in that file. Okay, so let's say you created the access card already. Now how can you use that access card to access these codes from that file? So how you do it, you just tell sc dot, and then whenever you type the dot, you can actually access all the parts that's in the file. So you can see all of these part like different parts of the code, and each are given a label like has next, next, next by, next boolean. So we're going to I'm going to teach you some of the methods again, some of the code that you can use to get the user get the input from the user. So let's say I want to get an integer, so I put int x is equals to sc dot next int. What does this do is it will ask the user to give an input. Well, it won't give a prompt. Like if I try to run it, let's say I will print it out, print x. If I run it, oh, okay, I can give an input here. So I can tell, by the way, since it's next int, right, so you can only give an integer. If you give a double or anything, it will give an error. So let's say I give 200, and since you're printing the x, so it will print the 200. So that's the purpose of nextInt, which will get the input or get an integer from the user. And just like an integer, you can get a double too. So next y is equals to next se dot next double. If I try to run it, let's say I gave 2.3, and that's all. You can give a boolean too. Boolean y is equals to se dot next boolean. But obviously you need to type out the whole thing, true or false. So let's say I give true, and the y is true now, and that's how you get an input from the user, You can either get an integer, double, or boolean. So what about if you want a string? Like what if you want someone to write out their name and then take that input? So what you can do is you can use next or next line. Sorry for the messy comment here, but you can use next or next line. So what's the difference between these? Let's just use next line first. So string name is equals to se dot next line, and then I'll just print it out. So now I can give a string. I can tell my name is okay, what am I thinking? Okay, Rachel 1234. That's my name, and it will just oh sorry, I tried to run it again instead of pressing enter. Okay, Rachel 1234, enter. So now it's gonna print the Rachel 1234. So that's how I use next line. What if I use next? Well, both are gonna do the same thing actually. Okay. Okay. Run. Okay, so I do the same thing, Rachel 1234, and then I'll get Rachel 1234. Now it looks the same, but let's say I give two words. Instead of Rachel 1234, I gave Rachel Green. And then let's say I just use next. Let's see what happens now. So what happens if I give Rachel Green? You see that it's only taking the first value. So what's happening for next is it's kind of like taking the value until the space bar, like where you press the space bar, right? So this way is press the space bar, so it will only take the value until that. So what if I want to take the next value? Well, you can actually do that by just telling, okay, let's say this is first name, string last name, c.next. And if I try to print now, and I give a value Rachel Green, and I'll get Rachel Green. I'll get the first name first and then the last name. So if you still haven't understand, okay, let's say this is the SE, right? So SC, let's say this is the the placeholder. So when I press Rachel Green, when I give the input and it takes a next, let's say this is the method. So what it will do the next, it will go here and it will take the first value, and then let's say I put X here, right? It will assign X as Rachel, and let's say if I call again Y equal to next, it will go here, and since there's a value, since there's still a value, so it will take that value and then assign it to Y. It won't even ask you, even though I'm calling next two times. This is the first time and this is the second time. The second time there's already a value in the holder, so it will take that value. So that's what happens in next. But if I use next line, say I use next line, okay. If I try to run now, Rachel green. Oh, sorry. Okay. So what's the next line is doing is it will take the whole thing. So if I use Rachel Green, even though there's a space, even though there's two words, it will take the whole thing. Instead of just taking Rachel, it will take Rachel Green. So if I press enter, as you can see, the first name can contain two words since I used the next line. So next line is kind of like telling take the whole line, you know. So next is telling just take the first word, something like that. So there's some kind of errors that you actually encounter during the usage of these both things. So let's say okay, let's say I use next first. Okay, let's say I use string. Let's just say it's a first name only, so it's only one word. Okay, so it's sc dot next, and now string last name c dot next line. So I have already told you, right? So next and next line is kind of like just getting a string from the user. So here, okay, let's try to run it first. Okay. So now I need to give a first name, right? Okay, let's say I give Rachel. So what must happen is it will take Rachel and then it will ask the last name again. That's how it should work, right? But if I try to run it, sorry, if I try to enter, it didn't even ask um my last name. It straight away went to this part of the code. It just started printing out the first name. So why it didn't ask me my last name? Well, what's happening here is let's go to the PowerPoint. Okay, so this is the placeholder, right? Whenever you give a value, oh, that's a very ugly box. Okay, okay. Whenever you gave an input, let's say it's Rachel, right? Let's just Rachel, and when you press enter, this escape sequence will actually go there. So what's the next line will do is it will see if there's a slash n backslash n. If there is, that means you need to take the value in front of it. That's what the next line will do. Next line will do. So it doesn't matter if you have Rachel Green and then a slash n, it will just take this whole value. That's what the next line will do. The problem with next, right? Whenever you give a name or like any input, let's say you give Rachel and then you backslash n, right? It will take this value. Yeah, by the way, next line, whenever you give a name backslash n, it will take this whole value, the value in front of it, and then it will clear this out. So after that, this placeholder will be clean. There'll be nothing here. But whenever you use next, it will take the Rachel only. Well, that's because it doesn't really care about the backslash n. So the backslash n kind of like just remains there. It doesn't matter, you know. So now first you use next, and then now you use next line straight away after that. Now if you use next line, since this black slash is already there, it won't even ask the value. It will just take the value in front of it, which is nothing. And so that's why in this case, after the next line didn't ask anything because there was a slash backslash n in the holder already. So to prevent that, you kind of like ask to call to execute the next line before calling another next line. So if you now try to run it, it will work. Rachel, and ask again green, and you can print it. Rachel green. Okay, so this is one of the issue that you will encounter, and just like how you face this using next and just next line, it will happen the same thing will happen if you use nextInt, nextInt or nextDouble or nextBoolean in this next part here. So even if you use nextInt and then you straight away tell next line, it won't ask the input the user ask the user the input. It will straight away take the slash and it from the placeholder. So if you have a case where you need to use this and then you need to use the next line, you need to call the next line before actually calling the next line. Okay. One of the another way that people come around this or solve this problem is they create another one. So SE2 new. So they create like another access card. So now these both access card like have different placeholders. So now, oh sorry. So now this SE2 will be used here. In this case, it doesn't really matter, because these have a different placeholder and these have a different one. So now you can tell Rachel and you can tell green and it works fine. So that's how you use nextInt, nextLine and everything, and you get input from the user. So in the next video I will give some practices to get familiar with all of the concepts and syntax I've already taught. And thank you.